The snow was falling heavier than anyone had expected that night. The streets were nearly empty, and the few who passed by kept their heads down, bracing against the bitter wind. On the icy bench of a lonely bus stop sat a young woman, her once elegant lace dress clinging to her frame as if mocking what her life had become. Her bare feet pressed against the frozen ground, red and raw, yet she barely noticed. She had grown numb not just to the cold but to the world itself. For her, the night wasn't colder than the emptiness she had been carrying in her heart for years. She was forgotten, discarded, invisible in a city that never slowed down. But that night the universe had other plans. A small figure appeared out of the falling snow. A little girl in a red coat, her tiny boots crunching in the frost, her mittened hands clutching a small paper bag. The girl stopped right in front of the woman, her wide, innocent eyes staring up at her as though she saw something no one else did. With childlike honesty, she extended the bag forward. And then, with a voice as soft as the snow itself, she whispered words that would forever change both of their lives. "You need a home, and I need a mommy. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of love in unexpected places, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Keenness Corner. Your support helps us spread more heart-touching stories to the world." The woman's name was Alina. Just months before, her life had been painfully different. She had grown up with dreams of becoming a teacher, her heart filled with passion for guiding children. But fate had dealt her harsh blows, losing her parents at a young age, battling through toxic relationships, and eventually finding herself betrayed by the one person she thought she could trust. She had nowhere to turn. When her landlord demanded rent she couldn't pay, she was thrown out with nothing but the clothes on her back. She had tried to find work, but with no address, no stability, and despair clinging to her like a shadow. Every door was closed. The city was merciless. Now she sat alone at the bus stop, not waiting for a bus but simply for the hours to pass, wishing the snow could bury her sadness. Her hollow eyes stared into the distance, barely registering the footsteps of the little girl who had appeared before her. The girl's name was Lily. She was no older than 4, but there was a light in her that warmed the darkest of places. Her cheeks were pink from the cold, but her eyes sparkled with a wisdom far beyond her years. She held out the paper bag, and inside was a small piece of bread, her dinner. She didn't hesitate, didn't second-guess, she simply offered it, believing it was the most natural thing in the world. And when she said those words, "You need a home, and I need a mommy," Elena's heart shattered. No one had spoken to her with such tenderness in so long. Elena tried to protest, to shake her head, but tears welled in her eyes before she could form the words. Her hands trembled as she accepted the bread, though she wasn't hungry, at least not in the way Lily thought. She was starved for hope, for connection, for love. Behind them, at a cautious distance, stood a man. He was tall, dressed in a heavy coat, and though he appeared stern, his eyes softened as he watched his daughter extend kindness in the simplest, purest form. His name was Daniel. A single father, widowed too young, raising Lily on his own. He had brought her out that evening for a short walk before bed, never imagining it would lead to this encounter. Daniel had taught Lily to care for others, to never turn away from someone in need. Yet even he was stunned by how instinctively she had reached out to this stranger. At first, his fatherly instincts urged him to pull his daughter back. The world wasn't safe, and strangers carried risks. But something in Alina's broken posture, in her silent tears as snowflakes melted against her cheeks, stopped him. He realized this wasn't danger. This was destiny. From that night on, a story began to unfold, not of charity, but of healing. Daniel and Lily would open their lives to Alina in ways none of them could have imagined, and Alina would learn that sometimes family isn't bound by blood, but by love freely given. The days that followed were not easy. Alina had to confront her shame, her fears of being unwanted, and her disbelief that someone could truly care for her. There were nights she cried alone in the guest room Daniel offered, unable to accept kindness without waiting for it to be taken away. But Lily's persistence, her innocent joy, her simple questions, her unwavering insistence that Alina was already mommy in her eyes, slowly melted the walls around Alina's heart. Daniel, too, was cautious at first. He had his own scars, his own grief for the wife he had lost. Yet he saw how Lily blossomed with Alina by her side, and in that light, he began to see Alina not as a stranger, but as someone who belonged. As weeks turned to months, Alina found herself slowly reclaiming the life she thought she had lost. She began helping Lily with her learning, sharing stories, teaching her letters and songs, until Daniel realized Alina was already becoming the teacher she had once dreamed of being. He encouraged her to apply for part-time work at Lily's preschool, and to her surprise, they welcomed her with open arms. But perhaps the most powerful transformation was internal. Alina no longer saw herself as invisible. She was loved, she was needed, she was family, and it had all begun with one child's simple words at a snowy bus stop. If this story has touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Leave a comment to let us know how you felt. Your voice matters, and your words might inspire someone else today. Sometimes in life, the greatest miracles don't arrive with thunder and lightning. They come quietly, disguised as small moments we almost overlook. For Alina, it wasn't a job offer, a rescue organization, or even a stroke of luck that changed her life. It was the kindness of a little girl who saw her not as a stranger, not as someone broken, but as someone who simply needed love. That moment at the snowy bus stop reminds us of a truth we often forget. It doesn't take much to change the course of someone's life. A smile, a warm gesture, a helping hand, or even just noticing someone who feels invisible can become the turning point they desperately need. As you sit with this story, ask yourself, how many Alinas have you passed by without noticing? How many lives could be lifted if we looked closer, if we chose compassion instead of indifference? The world can be cold, harsh, and unkind, but every act of love pushes back against that darkness. Each of us has the power to become someone's reason to keep going, someone's reminder that they matter. And maybe, just maybe, we can also learn from Lily, a child who didn't see obstacles or judgments, only a person in need. Her innocence carried a lesson deeper than any words could teach. Family is not always who we are born to, but who we choose with our hearts. So if this story touched you, let it be more than just a story. Carry its message with you. Share kindness where you can. And remember, even the smallest act of love can echo into eternity.